Hey bees, I'm Marie from Humblebee and Me, and today we're celebrating the 8th birthday of Humblebee and Me, which is kind of crazy. My little blog would be a 3rd grader if it was a person. I wanted to take this 8th anniversary as a chance to launch a new series I'm excited to share with you. It's going to be both on the blog on humblebeeandme.com and here on YouTube. I'm calling this series Be Better, and in it I'm going to be revisiting old projects that I've shared on Humblebee and Me and revising and improving them using what I've learned since I got started. After all, I've been doing this for 8 years and I have learned a lot. When I first launched Humblebee and Me back in 2011, it was mostly a self-accountability tool. Of course I had hopes that people would read it, but for the most part it was to keep me accountable, to keep me doing the things I loved. You see, I had just finished university, and when I was in university I had very little time and very little money, and so I really didn't pursue my hobbies. And I love making and creating things, so when I graduated I was thinking, I'm not going to have homework and I'm going to have an income. I can actually pursue these hobbies, these creative outlets that I love. But I also knew myself well enough to know that there was a decent chance I would just end up working way too hard at whatever job I ended up getting. So I launched Humblebee and Me so that I had an accountability tool, so that I didn't become a workaholic, so that I had something else that I was working on in my free time for me. Humblebee and Me was a way for me to make sure that I did the things that I loved, and it also gave me a place to share them, typically with my friends and family. In the early days of Humblebee and Me, things were pretty scattered. I would say the only real theme was just kind of stuff Marie creates. There was everything from bookbinding to typeface design to cakes to soaps to lip balms to curries. It was very, very scattered, but just things that I really liked making. There was DIY stuff up there as well, as I'd gotten into DIY and kind of natural skincare in my last year of university, but that definitely wasn't the focus of Humblebee and Me back when I launched. And all of this stuff is still up on humblebeeandme.com, so if you want to go check out the Titanic costumes that I made a decade ago, it's all there for your enjoyment. When I first launched Humblebee and Me, I was publishing 7 times a week, which seems crazy from where I'm sitting right now, but it was definitely a much lower effort thing back then. You know, I would make a curry for dinner, take a couple pretty mediocre photos of it, do a quick write-up, and send it off into the world. As time went on, people actually started reading my posts, which was a very pleasant surprise, and leaving comments and sending me emails. As that happened, I slowly reduced my posting schedule from 7 times a week down to 4 times a week, and then down to 2 times a week, as I was spending more time interacting with readers, which is very exciting, and as I was working on making my content better. Over those years, the selection of projects that I was sharing was still pretty hodgepodge, but I was starting to do more posts about DIY skincare, and I was noticing that those were my most popular posts. So when I did trim it down to just 2 days a week, at that point in time I decided I was going to focus entirely on DIY type things and, you know, leave cooking and costuming for somewhere else. As a side note, Humblebee and Me launched at about the same time that Pinterest did, and oh boy, did I love Pinterest. There were so many projects to try and just so much inspiration and information collected all in one place. I collected a lot of pins for all kinds of miraculous projects and DIYs using what I've come to sort of refer to as a very Pinteresty set of ingredients. These Pinteresty ingredients are a kind of funny collection of natural things like essential oils, carrier oils, and butters and clays, and then things that you already have in your home that you are familiar with and comfortable with. So things like Dawn dish detergent, baking soda, hydrogen peroxide, and vinegar. There was a strong focus on things being natural/safe and accessible, and that was really appealing to me. That's where I got a lot of my early information about making things, and I now know that a lot of it wasn't very good. I've learned a lot since then, but that's where I started, and I've heard from many of you that's where you got started too. And that is where my new Be Better series comes in. I have learned so much over the last 8 years, from research, experimenting, my Formula Botanica coursework, reader input, and reintroducing some store-bought products into my life. When I first got started, I was really dedicated to this idea that any product that I used had to be something that I made, but as I've been experimenting with and getting to know professionally formulated and produced products, it has really helped me grow and improve as a formulator. My ingredient philosophy has changed a lot. When I first got started, I was very committed to the idea of things being natural, and that commitment was very heavily motivated by fear. Over the years, I've really learned that natural doesn't mean safe, and that's kind of a funny one, because if you had asked me 8 years ago if natural meant safe, I would have said, of course not! Arsenic is natural and super not safe. But when it came to choosing skincare ingredients, I had some serious blind spots and had just somehow not fully applied that piece of knowledge to the things that I was creating and putting on my skin. I have learned that synthetic ingredients can be wonderful and a ton of fun to work with. I've also stopped referring to the EWG's Skin Deep database for information about ingredient safety. I now use the Cosmetics Info database, which has a lot more nuanced information about safe ingredient use. I'll throw some links to 2 pretty long blog posts that I've written about this philosophical shift in the description box below. One is called Let's Talk About Natural, and the other is about the natural efficacy, fallacy, and natural shaming. And I really recommend you read both of them. I'm very proud of them, and they do a really good job of going more into detail about how my thinking has changed over the last 8 years. My Formula Botanica coursework really helped me improve my formulation structuring, making full and proper use of percentages when creating a formulation, and understanding and utilizing recommended and maximum ingredient usage rates. Among the many things that I learned doing my coursework from them, one of the most important, I think, has been the importance and nuance of essential oil concentrations in skincare products. This is something you rarely read about in Pinterest-style blogs, and it can be difficult to find good information about safe essential oil usage, especially because MLM companies have pumped so much information out into the world about how you should eat their essential oils and how essential oils can be used neat on the skin without concern, that yeah, there's a lot of bad information out there, and I learned a lot in my Formula Botanica coursework about that. As part of this Be Better series, you're definitely going to see the essential oil concentrations of some formulations dialed back, and in some cases way back, to come into line with the things that I have learned. Not everything I shared back in the early days of Humblebee and me was awful, but there's definitely some pretty awful stuff in there. Over the last few years, I have been working to soft remove the worst of them, so I fade out the formulation and include a note at the top that generally says, please don't make this, because it's just not very good or it's unsafe. I considered hard removing the formulation, but I thought it was better to leave it up as a what not to do, again, with a very emphatic notice that you absolutely shouldn't be making it, rather than kind of remove this record of my learning experience. One of my favorite things about Humblebee and me is how it's a very complete chronicle of my learning and growing as a formulator and a creator. And while some of my old comments feel pretty cringeworthy from where I'm sitting today, it's where I was at the time. So, with everything I have learned and am continuing to learn, I am launching my Be Better series today. I'm going to be going through old projects, talking about what I did wrong and why, or what I could improve on, and then I'll be sharing a new and improved version of that formulation, a Formulation 2.0, if you will. Who knows? There's a good chance I'll be releasing a Formulation 3.0 in a couple years as I continue to learn and grow. I hope you'll join me for this series, and I hope that you will find it informative and helpful. If you have any suggestions for projects you'd like to see me revisit, please leave them in the comments below. I would love to hear what you'd like to see me go back to and polish up. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your support. I can't believe Humblebee and me has been around for 8 years. That's crazy. I appreciate your support so much. I absolutely couldn't do it or be here without you. So thank you so much, and I will see you soon with our first installment of Be Better.